everybody. Alan Prentup, Southwest Florida Realtor here. The latest data from September has now been released by the Florida Realtors, and I wanted to cover that real quick, just to let everybody know what is going on. We're seeing some changes within the market. I started seeing some different things in Southwest Florida last month, particularly in the Naples area, and it looks like now that has caught on. And I'm seeing a similar performance in the Cape Coral, Fort Myers MSA area. So, jumping right in with both feet. For the month of September, we had 1,113 closed sales, which is up 14.4% from September of 24 at 973. Right. And then cash sales were up as well, nearly 18% at 297 versus 252 September of 24. And that constituted 26.7% of all sales, which is an increase of 3.1%. Median sales price, $375,000, which is down 2.1% from $382,900 in September of 24. So average sales price is what I look at a little bit more often than median. We had an average sales price $513,454 versus $489,842 last year, which is an increase of 4.8%. And this is only single family homes. No condos or villas or townhomes, any of that mixed in. No manufactured homes. This is just regular houses, all price point. And we closed a dollar volume of $571.5 million, up 19.9% from $476.6 million. So trending in a positive direction as it pertains to sellers, with an average price, we're up over last year, but that also is indicative of this time of year. Q4 of the year is kind of what I refer to as preseason. We're warming up because Q1 of the year, January, February, March, and even a lot of cases April, that's the busiest time of year for us. Wherever you might be viewing this from, the spring, summer market time of year might be the busy time in real estate. We're busy during that times too. That's when a lot of the school, families with school-age children are moving in between the school year. But we have a lot of winter tourism, and I've already seen it in some of my listings. Some out-of-town visitors looking for a vacation home to buy, so they've already started looking and purchasing. Kind of the early worm is why the preseason. And I've got two groups of buyers coming down from the Midwest next month looking for vacation homes as well. So it's that time of year. Business is starting to pick up. Q3 is the slowest time of the year for us. So it's good to see the uptick and a little bit higher average price for sellers. Now, what does that mean for buyers? And we're going to get into that right now. Percentage of list price. In September of 25, on average, the median was 93.5% of the original list price, which is down 2.1%. So it looks like the sellers they're less stringent on their asking price. They're more willing to negotiate a little bit more than last year. Might be a little bit of seller fatigue that I've talked to a number of people about. And when I was looking at other aggregate data for Lee County, which is the Cape Coral Fort Myers MSA, about 85% of the properties are overpriced. So they're more so doing negotiating a little bit better than they were last year and getting their property sold. Median time to contract 67 days. That's up 17.5% from last year. Median time to contract up 9.2% at 107 days. So if priced correctly, and you're selling your home, and if it's priced correctly, you could have it under contract maybe around 67 days. Might be 70, could be 45. It just depends on the property. So the price that you enter to the market is going to be the biggest thing. Now, we still have a lot of properties on the market. We saw an increase in pending sales, 1,141 versus 1,028 last year. That's up 11%. New listings to the market down 2.3%, a little bit less coming to the market. We had 1,532 properties come to market, which is only 36 properties less than last year at 1,568. Pending inventory 1,430, which is down 60 basis points from 1,438 last year. So 8 less properties went under contract. Active inventory, 7,551 total houses for sale in the month of September 2025, which is up 12.9% from 2024 at 6,691. And we have 6.7 months supply of inventory. We had 5.8 months last year. That's up 15.5%. So a strong buyer's market, which that's kind of what this data is telling me, especially here. The sellers are negotiating a little bit more than previously. And like I said, being priced correctly, all this here, we could, potentially get the property sold. I've got one property about to hit the market by the end of the month. The photography happens next week. And they're wanting to sell it by the end of the year. So that means I've got less than 30 days to get it under contract. And they were very receptive with, the pricing strategy that I spoke to them about. And they're open to it. So let's switch over to Naples and Immokalee, Marco Island. And, similar performance down in Collier County. And again, this is single family homes, no condos, no manufactured, no townhomes, villas, etc. So closed sales of 358 versus 286 last year. That's an increase of 25.2%. Cash sales 173 last month versus last year to 128. That's up 35.2%. And cash sales, which is not uncommon to be at this number in Collier County, 48.3%. So nearly half of all sales were cash. That's up 7.8%. And it was 44.8% last year. Median sale price, $772,500. That's down 1% from $780 in September of 24. Average sales price, $1,340,846, which is down again 1% at $1,353,929. Total dollar volumes up 24% at $480 million versus $387.2 million last year. And they're getting median 91.2% median percent of the original list price, which is down 1.7%. 92.8 was what it was last year. So similar as what we saw in Lee County in the Cape Coral, Fort Myers area. Median time to contract just a little bit longer, 84 days versus 78 days last year, and that's a change, an increase of 7.7%. Median time to sell, 122 days versus 117 days, so it's taking 5 days longer to get those deals closed, and that's up 4.3% versus last year. Increase of 18.8% of pendings, of new pending sales. New listings 443 versus 457. That's down 3.1%, similar to what we saw in Cape Coral, Fort Myers area. Total 487 pending inventory, which is an increase of 2.1% versus last year at 477. So the pending inventory is exceeding the listings. So the active inventory being 2,649, that's going to shrink. So as long as those numbers keep happening like that, we have more going under contract than are coming on. We're going to start eating away at that inventory, which 7.2 months supply of inventory is up 7.5% from 6.7 months last year. And that's been trending like this for a couple months in Collier County. Now the Lee County area has brought that up. I've got to go show property in Cape Coral today. So since I'm doing that, let's just go ahead and switch over to Cape Coral only. Okay, Cape Coral, just as that city, closed 410 properties last month, up 5.9% from 2024. Cash sales being 16.7%, it increased 16.7% at 98 of those total sales, which is a 23.9% total volume of cash purchases, which is up 10% from last year. Median sales price at 365 versus 379, that's down 3.7%. Average sales price 437, which is down 2.5% from last year. The sales prices median percent of the list price 93.5%. 95.2% last year, that's down 1.8%. So you can see that tells me that the sellers are more willing to negotiate. I just had a call with another agent that had to cancel one of my showings today, and said, "Oh, they really want to sell. They really want to sell. So we really want your client to come look at it." And so they're trying to get it rescheduled for next week. So I'm finding that with the buyers that I do represent, and the sellers are a lot more receptive. I'm seeing that on the ground myself. So that's a good thing that we're starting to. These are the early stages of moving back into a normal market. We're not there yet. It's going to take a while to get there, but it shows that everything is it's starting to come together in a manner to where we can actually move in that direction going forward. Median time to sell to contract is 67 days, 106 days to finalize to close escrow. So that's kind of what we saw as a total MSA, the whole county. So 67 days is up 15.5% from 58, and 106 is up just a hair, 2.9% increase versus 103 days last year. And total pending inventory was 568 properties went under contract, while 553 came to market. And 553 that came to market is down 11.5% from 625 last year. So that's now I've heard some people talk about shadow inventory and people getting frustrated. There are a number of homes that have been taken off the market and been put back on the market as rentals. I've seen some that have been for sale that also they're getting frustrated, so they list it for rental as well as for sale, whichever one happens first, they're happy with. So, and some just took it off the market completely. Now, we usually start seeing a surge in the back half of Q4 for people bringing their properties to market that want to be on the market for the hot Q1 selling season. So new listings being down from last year, so I'm not seeing that trend in Cape Coral as of yet. Total active inventory in Cape Coral, 2,693 homes, down 4% from last year at 2,805. Month supply of inventory, 6.4 months, which are completely flat from last year. So no change. It was a few months back that there was a story put out that Cape Coral was the worst market in the country. And I couldn't find the metrics that they were using to say that. And as soon as that Wall Street Journal article came out, I had investors calling me, "Alan, I want to buy in Cape Coral. Alan, I want to buy in Cape Coral." So it's kind of like I'm taking that as it was a silent message to, hey, it's time to invest in Cape Coral again. So the surge in the real estate market as a whole nationally began in Florida. 5 of the top 10 fastest growing areas during the pandemic were in Florida. And then we had, I think 3 in Texas, et cetera. So the pendulum, it started here, so it's going to, end here. So now there's markets in the country that are just now starting to see price reductions. We've been in price reductions for 3 years. So as we're coming out of it, it's still going to continue in the other areas like the Northeast and Northwest and Midwest. And I've talked to a couple agents in the Northeast, and there's still homes being purchased with no inspections. There's still homes being purchased for cash. But what has changed there is people are starting to not overpay. Their offers are not there's not as many offers over list price, and it's starting to come down to a lot of offers being less than list price. So it's starting to change up in those old, fully built out markets in the Northeast. Not everywhere. It's starting. Change this over. Let's look at Naples by itself. Now you can see it's just giving us the city of Naples. Really, stretches out up into here, over here, and even down here some. But as far as city limits goes, that's that. So 22 closed sales in Naples, up 29.4% from last year. 20 of those were cash. That's up 53.8%. Nearly 91% of all sales last month of single-family homes in Naples were cash. That's not uncommon. There's a lot of luxury property there, and luxury buyers typically buy, just pay cash. We see that a lot more common in the 7 and 8 figure price points than we do down in the mid lower 6 figures. Median sale price for a single family home in Naples last month, $2.825 million, which is down 21.5% from $3.6 million. Average sales price, $5,260,225, which is down 15.8% of $6,244,302. They did 9% more in total dollar volume in Naples last month versus September 24. And the median percent original list price, 87.6%, which is increased from 3.9% from 84.3% of list price last year. So last month, those numbers were inverted. We were lower on the current month than year over year. So Naples, it looks like they're negotiating pretty well down there from a selling standpoint. Time to contract 104 days, down 36.2%. So they're selling faster. And time to sell, of course, is also going to be faster by 18.4%. That's 168 days versus 206 last year. So they had 24 new listings come on, 33 properties went under contract. So they're starting to eat into their inventory too. Now, I would expect these numbers to kind of fluctuate in this type of pattern for the next 3-4 months as we come into our busy season. There'll be some changes. In Naples especially, there's a lot of condos that only come to market for season. And those have an evergreen price on them. They're 20-30% overpriced. There's people that own whole floors of condo buildings or 2 floors in a condo building doing short-term rentals. And they'll list it for season. They'll have a sign set up with a QR code with the realtor. And if anybody vacationing wants to buy it, this is the price they're willing to take. And a lot of them are priced correctly, but many of them are overpriced in what I call the evergreen pricing. And I've talked to some of those property owners because I do a lot of luxury investments. And they said, well, that's the price I want. If they're willing, if they're willing to pay it, that's what I'll take. I'm like, well, no one's willing to pay that, and they've had that same price for 3-4 years on these properties. So that's kind of like another version of the shadow inventory. So total month supply of single family homes in Naples, 9.6 months, which is down 22%. So there's less on the market. It's moving a little bit quicker in Naples. Like I said, with Naples, Cape Coral, Fort Myers, Estero, Bonita Springs, Marco Island, Immokalee, I'm looking for that to change. Now, I will be over in Punta Gorda tomorrow. Just out of curiosity, let's take a look at one more city and see what Punta Gorda is looking like. Because I know Punta Gorda has been a topic of conversation amongst a lot of people. And so for Punta Gorda, September of 25, 32 closed sales, which is completely flat year over year. So no change. That's neither good nor bad. So the bleeding has stopped, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. 19 of those were cash sales, which is 59.4%, and that's both an increase of 11.89% versus last year. So a little bit more cash coming back. Median sales price 537,500, which is down 17.6% from 652.5. Average sales price 589,250, which is down 15.7% at just under 700 grand. Dollar volumes down 15.7% at 18.9 million versus 22.4 last year. Median percent of original list price down 6.8%. 87% of the original list price is what they were getting last month versus 93.3 in 2024. So that's still that's showing a trend now between Lee County and Collier County, both showing the same type of trend. Median time to contract 128 days, which is a 60% increase, and median time to sale, the close of escrow, 164 days, which is up 12.3%. So we're not moving any faster like we were seeing in Naples. It was actually moving slower. If you're not familiar with Punta Gorda, it's small, over 40 miles of waterfront canals, more than 80 miles of waterfront homes, small town feel, no beach, but it's got more waterfront dining in Punta Gorda. They got 20,000 residents, 25,000 residents. Cape Coral's got 225,000. Punta Gorda's got more waterfront restaurants. So if you're looking for a small town feel, Punta Gorda might be for you if you're looking to buy. But if you're looking to sell, these numbers say something profound that it's going to take a little bit longer. It's all in how it's priced, and Punta Gorda is no different than the other two counties. It's around 85% of the market is overpriced. Nobody's paying above appraisal. That's not happening. So back to the data, new listings, they had 63 new properties come to the market, which is an increase of 85.3%. Now, this time last year, we had Hurricane Milton come through first week, second week of October. So this is right on the heels of Hurricane Milton, this 24 data. So, yeah, we're seeing some difference now. Hurricane Milton, Punta Gorda largely was evacuated. So most people in Punta Gorda left. There was some flooding in some homes. Many homes did not flood. There were a few that did, though. And I saw some houses that, took 6 inches of flooding, some that took 4 foot. And those homes were right across the street from one another. So it just varies. And that's what my public adjuster was telling me when I was asking him about, how things were looking after Milton when he was, running up and down the coast, helping people with their claims. So total active inventory, 240, which is up 15.4% from last year. Like I said, Hurricane Milton knocked a lot of stuff out of the market. Month supply of inventory, 6.7, so that's right in line with the county to the south of Lee County. They're also at 6.7, 6.4. And that's an increase of 26.4%. So by and large, we're not seeing the trend from Naples and Lee County up in the lower Charlotte County, the Punta Gorda area. And that has to do with the data is a little skewed for Punta Gorda due to the hurricane. There was flooding from Hurricane Helene in Punta Gorda. There was a little bit of flooding from Milton and Helene and Cape Coral, not much. Fort Myers Beach, Sanibel, Pine Island. Everybody was affected a little bit differently. Now with Helene and Milton, they weren't the strongest of storms, but it was enough. It was enough. So my prediction of going forward is that the market's going to continue to improve. As far as interest rates, that's unclear. We'll have to see. I might have a little bit better, bead on what interest rates might do by February. The Fed's going to be going through some changes in January, so I might have a little bit better clear direction, for interest rates. Interest rates, even though, it doesn't really affect anybody, buying and selling in the luxury side of the industry, it does affect the industry as a whole. It does. So with that being said, if you're looking to buy or sell in any of these areas, this is the data. You can go back and take a look at it. If you've got questions, reach out to me in the comments, and I will be glad to walk you through any data specific. I can get down to your neighborhood all the way very microscopic, and let you know what is going on there with other homes historically. 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 6 months. Don't want to go back 6 months because of the market's changing. So, any questions, let me know. Be glad to give you all the information you need so you can make your best informed decision on whether you want to buy or sell. And if you want to talk about anything further, that'll be completely on you. No pressure, just the truth. I'm Alan Primp, your Southwest Florida realtor. Thanks. Have a great day.